What if I told you that the world as we know it is changing in ways that could completely reshape your future? The global order, the balance of power, the way economies and nations function. It's all in the midst of a transformation. And if you're not paying attention, you might miss it. The rise of new economic powers, the shift in technological dominance, and the battle for control over resources are all happening right now. What if the very future of your career, your investments, and your life is tied to understanding these changes? In the next few minutes, you'll discover how the shift in global power is not just an abstract concept, but a force that you can harness to secure your future. Stay with me as we break down what's happening in the world and how you can take control of your destiny in a world that's evolving faster than ever. The clock is ticking and the time to act is now. Keep watching. You won't want to miss this. What if I told you that the global power dynamics you've known your whole life are being completely rewritten right now? For decades, the West, especially the United States, has held the reins of global influence. But what if I told you that shift is happening right now as power moves from the traditional centers to new emerging economies? Take China, for example. We're watching one of the largest economies in the world rise at an unprecedented rate, challenging the long-standing dominance of Western nations. And this isn't just a small shift, it's the beginning of a new world order that will completely redefine global politics, economics, and trade. Imagine this, you've been taught that the US dollar is the global reserve currency, that Western ideologies and political systems lead the world. But what if, over the next few decades, the financial power centers in Asia, particularly in China, take over and reshape how trade, currency, and influence work? What does that mean for global markets? What does that mean for your investment strategies, your business, and your personal finances? This isn't just speculation, it's happening right now. Emerging economies are not just growing in numbers, they're becoming critical players in global governance, trade, and military influence. If you think you can ignore this shift, you might wake up one day realizing you've missed a monumental opportunity. The global economic center is shifting, and understanding this change is essential to thriving in the future. The question isn't whether the world is changing. It's how prepared you are to understand and adapt to it. What if I told you that the economic power you've relied on for decades is no longer in the hands of a few? The world's economic engine is rapidly shifting, and it's not just about emerging markets growing. It's about the redistribution of influence. Nations like China, India, and others in Asia aren't just becoming bigger economies. They're using their economic growth to assert political, cultural, and military power in a way that challenges Western dominance. The idea that global economic leadership will remain in the West for much longer is being questioned every day. Imagine this. For the last century, the US dollar has been the cornerstone of global trade. But what if I told you that the rise of digital currencies, such as China's digital yuan, is threatening that very foundation? What if these emerging economies are not only reshaping trade, but also creating a new global economic structure that bypasses traditional Western financial systems? This isn't a future scenario, it's happening now. The US and Europe, once the undisputed centers of finance, are facing challenges from countries that have learned from the past, adapted quickly, and are now vying for global leadership. These changes are so profound that they could redefine how countries engage in commerce, finance, and even how power is exercised on the global stage. This is a wake-up call. What if you haven't been paying attention to these rising powers, and they're about to change the game on you? Global economics and politics are being rewritten in real time, and the traditional balance is no longer guaranteed. How prepared are you for this new world order? The shift in global power is inevitable, and it's happening faster than you think. Are you ready to adapt to this change, or will you be left behind as the world evolves? What if I told you that the greatest battle for global dominance today isn't over land or resources, but over technology? It's not the countries with the largest populations or the most traditional forms of power that are shaping the future. It's the nations that lead in technology and innovation. Technology has become the new currency, and the countries that control it will not only shape their own futures, but also the future of the entire world. We're talking about everything from artificial intelligence, blockchain, to quantum computing. These technologies are now at the forefront of geopolitics. Consider this, China is aggressively investing in artificial intelligence and 5G infrastructure, seeking to outpace the US in what is known as the technological Cold War. But here's the shocking reality. This isn't just about competition for market share or profits. It's about control. Countries that dominate in technology have the power to dictate the future of global trade, security, and even culture. What if you didn't realize that in this new world order, who controls the technology controls the narrative? The rise of tech giants is not just about business, it's about national power on a global scale. Now, what if you're missing out on this crucial shift? If you're not aware of the growing influence of countries like China and the incredible power of tech, you might be caught off guard as the world moves toward a new economic and political era. What if this battle for technological supremacy is the key to understanding how global power will be structured in the coming decades? The future is not just about resources. It's about who controls the most cutting-edge technologies, and they are the ones shaping the world's destiny. This shift is already happening. Are you ready to adapt to it? What if I told you that the global economic system is on the brink of a transformation, and your financial future could be directly impacted by the decisions being made today? We often think of the world's financial systems as stable, unchanging pillars that we can rely on. But what if I told you that debt cycles, the unseen force behind many global crises, are reaching a breaking point? The amount of debt accumulating across nations is staggering, and we are nearing a global tipping point where these cycles will either collapse or force governments to make dramatic economic shifts. Imagine this. For decades, governments have been borrowing money to stimulate growth. But what happens when the debt becomes too large to sustain? What if the system we've relied on, where debt fuels growth, starts to collapse under its own weight? Countries have been accumulating record levels of debt, and as the global economy faces slowing growth, there will come a point when this debt can no longer be paid back with traditional methods. What if the resulting economic collapse or radical shifts in policy disrupt the very foundation of our global financial system? Inflation, rising costs, and global instability are all real threats as the world grapples with unsustainable debt. This scenario might seem far-fetched, but the reality is that we are living through the stages of this crisis. What if you've been blind to how debt cycles are shaping the future of global economics, and the entire financial system could be completely altered in the near future? The impact of these cycles isn't just theoretical. It's happening now, and it could change everything from how we live to how we invest. Are you ready for what comes next? The question isn't if change will come. It's how prepared you are to face it. What if I told you that the real shift in global power isn't happening in the halls of government, but in the hands of a few tech giants? Technology has become the most valuable asset in the world, and the countries that lead in innovation and control the digital space will dominate the future. It's no longer just about oil, resources, or military might. The battle for global power is now a battle for data and technology. Think about it. What if the next superpower isn't a nation, but a corporation? What if companies like Google, Facebook, and Tencent hold more sway over global politics than entire governments? Now, here's the shocking part. These tech giants not only control massive amounts of data, they also control the platforms that shape how we communicate, shop, work, and even think. With technology advancing at a breakneck pace, the countries that are ahead in AI, 5G, and blockchain will have the ability to dictate global economic terms. What if you've been blind to the true power of technology and how it's reshaping global geopolitics? These corporations and the countries they're tied to have access to more information about individuals, markets, and governments than anyone else. And they're using this power to influence everything from elections to trade policies. What if the future of the world order isn't about borders or traditional power struggles, but about who controls the flow of information in the digital landscape? The game is changing, and the next global conflict might not be fought with tanks and missiles, but through servers and algorithms. Are you prepared for the new world order, where the real power lies not in governments, but in the hands of a few tech-driven entities controlling everything from economies to lives? What if I told you that the way we view global cooperation and conflict is about to be flipped on its head? We've always been told that in a globalized world, cooperation between countries is the key to solving global challenges. But what if I told you that the lines between cooperation and conflict are blurring, and that the future of international relations is not just about peace, but about who can control the resources, technology, and narratives of the world? We're witnessing a profound shift in how countries approach everything from climate change to security threats. It's no longer just about collaboration. It's about strategic positioning, competition, and dominance. Imagine this. As global challenges like pandemics, climate change, and cyber threats grow, nations are being forced to cooperate. But at the same time, global competition is reaching unprecedented levels as countries fight not only for land and military dominance, but for technological supremacy and control over the global narrative. The balance between cooperation and conflict is no longer clear-cut. Countries are forming alliances that are not based purely on mutual benefit, but on economic, technological, and geopolitical power. Now, here's the shocking part. What if the future of global order doesn't lie in traditional diplomacy or treaties, but in powerful digital alliances and the ability to control critical technology? Nations will no longer just engage in traditional warfare, but in economic, technological, and information warfare. The countries that control the future of data, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity will dominate global decisions, leaving traditional alliances in the dust. What if the true battle in the coming decades isn't about armies or territory, but about who can control the digital infrastructure and the flow of global information? The shift is happening now. How prepared are you for this new era? In conclusion, we are standing on the brink of a new world order, one that will redefine power, influence, and the way nations interact with one another. The traditional systems we've relied on are being challenged and reshaped by emerging economies, technology, and a changing global dynamic. The shift from military might to technological dominance, the rise of digital currencies, and the blurred lines between cooperation and conflict are all shaping a new reality. The world is evolving, and those who adapt to these changes will be the ones who thrive. So, the question you must ask yourself is, how will you navigate this changing world order? Will you rise to the challenge, embrace the new realities, and leverage the opportunities? The time to prepare for the future is now. Stay informed, stay resilient, and remember that your response to these changes will determine your success. Thank you for your time and attention. I wish you all the best as you move forward. May you embrace the future with confidence, wisdom, and the ability to seize the incredible opportunities that lie ahead. Good luck and thank you.